What's up, y'all? All right, let's get back into it. 9.4, blood vessels. When we look at blood vessels, three types that we're going to be looking at: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries, characteristics of those: they carry blood at high pressure away from the heart. They carry oxygenated blood other than that pulmonary artery, because remember, pulmonary means it's going to the lungs. So if it's going away from the heart to the lungs, it has that deoxygenated blood that's got to pick up oxygen at the lungs. They have very thick muscular walls. They have narrow lumen. A lumen is an opening, so it's very, very narrow opening of those arteries, and the speed of flow is very fast. Veins carry blood at low pressure back towards the heart. They carry deoxygenated blood other than the pulmonary vein, because remember, veins always bring blood back to the heart. If it's been at the lungs, it's picked up oxygen. Okay, so veins carry deoxygenated blood. They have thin walls, and they have a very large lumen. So remember, arteries have very tiny openings, but the veins have very large openings, or lumens. So the lumen is the opening, veins, very large lumen. They contain valves. I just remember it like VV. Veins contain valves, and the speed of the flow is very, very slow. You can look at the image of this. So right here we have a depiction of an artery. You can see the very narrow opening. That lightest pink color would be the opening, or the lumen. It is surrounded by a thick layer of smooth muscle and those elastic fibers, because that pressure is so high in an artery that it has to be able to withstand that. And then you have valves over here, very wide opening. So that lightest color is the lumen, the opening. Very thin layer of smooth muscle. And then if you'll notice that veins have the valves, and those prevent the backflow of blood. Now, when we look at capillaries, going to be a little bit different than any type of, the veins and arteries are pretty much the opposite of one another. Capillaries, just the what each of the veins and arteries break all the way down into, in the smallest form, for nutrient transactions to occur. So they carry blood at low pressure within tissues, both oxygenated and deoxygenated, because this is the point at which carbon dioxide is being removed and oxygen being absorbed for that respiration process to occur. Their walls are 1 cell thick, and they have leaky walls. So this means things are able to pass across the capillary walls very easily. And then the speed of flow is very, very slow in a capillary. So you can see a capillary 1 cell thick. For the wall of that, this would be an example of a red blood cell that's being able to pass through. And then when we look at the structure of blood vessels and how they're adapted for function, arteries have those thick muscular walls with the elastic fibers to withstand the high blood pressure that's passing as blood passes through them. And then narrow lumen to help maintain that high blood pressure. Veins have very large lumens, or large openings, because that blood pressure is low, so things can move more easily through those, as well as they contain those valves to prevent backflow. And then capillaries have walls that are only 1 cell thick, so substances can easily diffuse in and out of them. And then those walls are leaky, is how these set of notes describe it. So that blood plasma can leak in and out to form tissue fluid in the surrounding cells. And when we get to the lymphatic section in this unit, we'll kind of talk about that a little bit more. Now, for this, when we look at a picture of how the capillary beds look, arteries divide more and more as they get away from the heart and they get narrower. So we say this would be an artery, an arteriole, finally branching into the capillary or capillary bed. And then they collect back up to form the venule, and then eventually the vein. So this is how an artery ultimately breaks itself down into artery, arteriole, capillary. Then the capillaries link back up to form venules, and then veins. Remember, arteries are bringing blood away from the heart, veins are turning blood back to the heart. Okay, shunt vessels we'll talk about in the homeostasis unit. It's not covered in your test material for this unit, although this set of notes places them here. We're going to talk about those in a few weeks. The last thing we'll look at is just how blood circulates around the body. So it's important to know that Every organ is going to have an artery and a vein side of it. So each organ has to have blood coming from the heart to supply it with oxygen. And then each organ is going to have veins that transfer deoxygenated blood back to the heart to pick up oxygen and start the process all over again. So you can see for each of the kidneys, we would have like a renal artery bringing blood to it away from the heart, absorbing oxygen here, releasing carbon dioxide to return back to the heart through the renal vein. So that would be the kidney function. Now, important to note, your liver is going to be one that's kind of an oddball. So the liver, yes, has what's called the hepatic artery. But something that's unique about the liver is that it has the hepatic portal vein that ultimately where all of your nutrients are absorbed in the digestive system and the gut, it comes back through the liver to be filtered. And then all of that blood will then go back to the heart through the hepatic vein to pick up the oxygen, bring it back. That's one of the caveats of our different organ systems. So y'all can look over that. And definitely, you can pause it right here. Important blood vessels and how they get their oxygenated blood. So what goes towards the organ, what goes away from the organ. So you can see those. And then we will move on to the lymphatic system. So we're done with this section. All right, make sure you get your diagrams, take your CFU. We'll check back in next time.